Yes, sir. What is going on, YouTube? It is your boy Denali, aka Don Squally, and today we are back with another Nissan Altima video. So in today's video, I just wanted to explain to you guys exactly why I ended up selling my coilovers for a set of springs. So for those of you guys who've been paying attention or seen some of my previous videos, you will know that I had a set of coilovers for this car, and I installed just the fronts in a previous video, and to be honest, the ride quality was just a little bit too rough for my liking. So I ended up trading my coilovers for a set of Manzo eBay special springs, and in all honesty, I'm just liking the way that they ride a ton better. Now, truth be told, I didn't end up trying to adjust the coilovers. I've had experience with coilovers in the past. I have coilovers on my G35, and in all honesty, I know there's just not much that you can do for a set of coilovers that just ride really stiff. Even adjusting the dampening and the spring preload probably wouldn't have done much for the roads that I am used to driving on. Now, for those of you guys who know, I live pretty much up in the country, and if I worked in the country, that wouldn't be a problem at all. Unfortunately, I work downtown Toronto, pretty much as downtown as it gets, young and bluer, and it's a bit of a rough ride going into the city and coming out. The roads are just incredibly bumpy, and I drove with those coilovers on for about a day and a half before I said, you know what, the coilover life on the daily just isn't for me. So I ended up finding a guy locally, Tristan Hutt. He has a couple of SERs, and he had a set of Manzo springs for sale that were already mounted to struts, which was a huge bonus for me. Now, if I were to have to buy the springs brand new, as well as put on even on some used struts, like I did have the struts from this car that I took off, but in all honesty, they were in pretty rough shape. The front passenger side was blown to the point where the car would just bounce and wobble all over the place anytime I hit a bump. So I was fortunate enough to find a set of springs that were already mounted to like the shocks in the front. I also got the shocks for the back, but as you guys can probably see, I didn't end up installing the rears. Why? Because I'm just a huge fan of this rake look. I absolutely love the way that this car is stanced out right now. Now, in all honesty, the fronts sit a little bit lower than the coilovers that I had on here. I adjusted the height a little bit. I raised the coilovers just a touch, but as you can see, the springs sit just a little bit lower in the front than they do on the rear, but I'm not even mad. We got about maybe a finger and a half, maybe a finger and a pinky gap at the front. At the back, it's a little bit more, probably closer to 3 fingers at the rear, but in all honesty, like I say, I'm really happy with the way that it looks. I'm really happy with the ride quality. Now, with them being the Manzo eBay special, the ride it's not terrible. It's not great, but it's not terrible. Now, they ride just a little bit stiffer in the front than my stock suspension did. If I had to compare them to the Racing Line suspension, I'd say they're definitely more stiff than the Racing Line springs were that I had on my first Altima. But in all honesty, they're totally doable, totally dailyable, and it just makes my ride so much more enjoyable going to work, knowing that every single crack in the road like this would completely just rattle the living hell out of the interior of my car. And I don't know, when I'm driving to work at like 4 in the morning, that's just not something that I want to happen. So for those of you guys who are probably going to be a little bummed out that I ended up trading the coilovers for the springs, that's the reason why. And I haven't regretted my decision yet. Now when I say I traded the coilovers, the reason I'm using quotations is because I didn't actually trade them straight up. Now I ended up selling the coilovers for a little bit more than I paid for them, so I made money on the coilovers. Then I ended up buying the springs with the money that I had made from the coilovers. So I basically sold the coilovers, bought the springs, and still had $50 left in my pocket from when I started out buying the coilovers, which I'm not gonna lie, I got a pretty good deal on, and I was able to make a few bucks and get these springs for, well, pretty much nothing, to be honest. If you really look at it on paper, I ended up getting paid $50 for these springs after selling the coilovers. So I'm pretty happy with the way that this thing is sitting. Now the reason that I didn't throw the rear is one, I really enjoy the rake, and two, these tires here, which came off of the G35, have some terrible camber wear, and I didn't want to lower the back just in case the tires cambered in a little too much and they wore they camber wore even more than they already are. As you can see, the rear sits pretty much flat on the ground, absolutely zero camber on there. The fronts aren't too bad as far as the camber goes. They still sit relatively flush. There's a little tiny bit of camber. You can barely tell there. And with these wheels and these springs on here, they just sit absolutely perfect, pretty close to what my old Altima looked like. My old ones, as you know, with the racing line springs, they lower the rear about 1/2 inch, so compared to that, the rear is just a little bit higher, but the fronts, well, the front is just sitting absolutely mint. And as you guys can see, the paint job is holding up great. It's only been about a week, but I think just with the sun hitting it and it curing a lot more, the color is damn near perfect, man. I'm not gonna lie. Now when I first did it and I took it out in the sun and I did a little bit of a walk around, the rear bumpers were definitely more gold than the actual body. But like I say, after letting it cure a little bit more, we definitely don't have the same shine as we do on the body, but the bumper color itself is pretty much perfect. And we got that blacked out trunk with those black lights. So this thing, I mean, I'm pretty much done messing with this car right now. Until the catalytic converters go out, there's no wood to knock on here, but until the catalytic converters go out, which I hope they don't, then when that happens, we'll probably put on some headers. I do have a NWP spacer kit at home that I might throw on if I'm feeling like I want a little bit more power. But in all honesty, I'm just enjoying driving this thing. It's been an absolute dream. It drives great, it looks good. We're turning a little bit of heads. Like, not a lot of people get the Altima. A lot of people get the G. Like, almost everybody loves the G. I get thumbs up all the time in the G. But with the Altima, you know, it's a select few that take a second glance and really appreciate it for what it is, which I'm not gonna lie, I have been getting a few looks, more people trying to just, you know, race BMWs, Mustangs and stuff like that, always pulling up beside me and wanting to, you know, get the sauce, which I'm not gonna lie, this car's not that fast compared to my G, so most of the time I get left in the dust, but it looks absolutely amazing, man. So that's pretty much the reason why I ended up trading my coilovers for Manzo springs. Again, they are the eBay special, but in all honesty, if you guys are looking into them, they're cheap and the ride quality is really nice. Honestly, like, I'm not gonna lie, when you hit a couple really deep or really big bumps, it does kind of bottom out a little bit. You can feel the car just kind of slam down, but that's very rarely. And with me driving downtown Toronto, they are totally dailyable. Absolutely no complaints so far. And let's be honest, this thing's looking like an absolute gem. But I'm thinking we're probably gonna put an end to this video. It's getting a little long and it's just me walking around the car talking. But if you guys did enjoy this one, don't forget to smash that like button. If you guys want to see more and you're not subscribed yet, definitely do so. We got lots more Altima content coming, lots more G35 content coming, and who knows, man, we might, you know, mix things up a little bit and get something a little different in the future. But with that being said, I am your boy D Nolly, aka Don Squally. We're gonna catch y'all mofos at the next one, man. Peace.